I would like to show you an easy way to transfer an image onto your canvas if you're copying from something and using the grid system. Now you can make this yourself at home. You could just take a piece of paper and every inch make a line and make your own grid, make them 1 inch square. There's also this paper available here, bond paper, and there are, in faint blue, you can see there's already a grid on here. And so I took just one piece of that paper, and I just took my ruler and just took a marker and went over the 1 inch where the 1 inch lines fell in both directions. There'll be a little bit of extra on one end here, and don't worry about that, as long as you start off with having a full 1 inch square at the top and coming down and over. Once you get this drawn onto a piece of paper, you can go over to a place that makes copies and you can get a transparency made of it, like this. And also I have another one here that is 3/4 inch squares. If you have a small photo or something that you want to copy from and you want to do smaller sections at a time for copying, you can make a smaller grid. I prefer myself often to use the 1 inch grid here. So for instance, if I would like to copy this picture onto my canvas here, I would start out by, after I got my transparency made, I would lay the transparency over the photo or the picture and make sure that this corner up here has the full, it starts right up in the corner of the image with the 1 inch corner square here of the transparency. So I would count across the squares, and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares. And I would write that number down. And that's my horizontal number. And vertically, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5. I am going to round that up to 8, and that will help me avoid losing any of this image when I go to copy. Once you have your squares, you know how many squares are going across horizontally and vertically on your photo. Then you pick your paper or your canvas or whatever you are going to copy your image onto, and since this is horizontal here, then I will start up here and look at the horizontal width here. This is a 20 inches horizontally, and so I take the 20 inches and I divide it by the 10 inches squares, the 10 squares that I have here, and I come up with 2 inches. I do the same vertically. Here I have 16 inches here, and on my grid I found that I had, if I added the extra half down here, I came up with 8 squares, and 8 would go into 16 2 times, which would be, and ends up being 2 inches. So the squares I am going to draw onto this canvas are going to be 2 inch squares. Now, it's not always a perfect science, and sometimes you will come up with odd numbers. It's not going to be perfectly even. In that case, you might want to use a calculator for dividing your horizontal by the number of squares here, and also same thing with the vertical. If one number is, say, 2 inches, and if the other one is maybe 1 3/4, often I'll go with the larger number, or maybe I'll take an average between the two numbers so that that they are more uniform. So I've got my ruler here. I'm going to start in this corner here, and I'm going to mark off my 2 inches marks. And I'll mark it off down here. start down here and connect them. I usually don't go real dark with the lines. I usually try to keep them lighter because you are going to want to erase them after you transfer your image onto your canvas or paper, whichever you're using. Okay, now you want to do the same thing going vertically, and I'm going to put my ruler up here. And this canvas is not quite it's sold as a 16 by 20, but sometimes you'll find that they're just a little under 16 or or underneath the measurement, and just do the best you can with it. Okay. Just always make sure that up in this corner, your upper left corner, that you have, that's where you start your faux squares, because otherwise your image might get thrown off a bit and you might end up with only a partial square up in the corner where you really want to start the faux square. Okay, now you have your grid on the surface that you are going to be working from. Often I'll tape the transparency onto the image so it does not move around. That's a good idea. And all you have to do is look at the beginning square here. And you can see, if you were starting to draw this, that the line right here of the mountains starts about almost halfway up the square, and then it angles down a little bit, and then down here it's less than half. So when you're drawing, you just can copy square by square what you see, and it's less overwhelming than looking at the picture as a whole and then trying to figure out where to begin to draw. If you're just working one square at a time, then it'll be it'll just be a lot easier for you. And so, just an example here, you can see the proportions in the square where the drawing goes. You can see, this is like probably maybe a quarter of the way up or a third right here where this intersects. And so just pay attention to where your lines fall, and then just draw those lines in. And this is a sure way to get some accurate drawing onto the surface that you will be working with. Thank you.